positive word like easy. We use not and then we use positive word. He's not been easy to deal with. So this is softer than saying he's difficult to deal with. So uh, that is a way of saying things nicely. But if you want to talk to say to a friend informally, then you can just say, "Oh, he's a pain in the neck. He's a pain in the neck." Okay, so these are the example of uh, formal and informal speech. Now, I'm going to talk about components of a conversation. So in a conversation, usually we have three components. First is opening, and then second is pre-closing, and then third is closing. Opening usually is in the form of greetings. What are greetings? Greetings are very specific formulas that do not usually carry any literal meaning. So the greeting expressions usually cannot be translated literally word for word. For example, like when you when you want to greet someone in the morning, you always say good morning. You never say bad morning, although the day is bad, although the weather is not fine, although you are not really healthy, for example. But always the expression is good morning. So that's why it is said that the formula of greeting uh, is usually very specific, and it it is not literally, it is not to be literally translated. Also, when someone asks you how are you, you would say fine, thanks. Although you may not be really well that time. That's funny. I remember in a conference, there is a professor from Australia presenting his experience and his observation of Indonesian students doing master's degree in Australia and how they speak in their daily lives. And then he also gave example when an Indonesian student, after shopping in a supermarket, and then in the cashier, as usual, the cashier would say something like, "Good day, how are you?" And then this Indonesian student, being very specific because he's not very well that day, he answered something like, "Oh well, I have a stomach ache. I have stomach ache." And because actually when someone asking you, especially people in public service, when they ask you like how are you, that is only a standard polite talk, only by courtesy. That is not a genuine question asking you how really how really are you. So he's not asking, or he's not asking about your health. It's not very important. The important thing is that he says something. He maintains communication for politeness. So he wouldn't listen. He didn't listen the answer of this Indonesian student, and he just continued with his cashier, continued with the with work while saying, "Oh, that's good," because whatever you say, he would, "Ah, that's good." So even when this even when these Indonesians say, "I have a stomach ache," the answer would be like, "Oh, that's good," because he just did it automatically. He didn't realize that this Indonesian say something different. So what I want to say is that even if you are not doing well, when someone asks you a question like "How are you?" the answer should be like the standard answer, standard response like "Fine, thanks," or "I'm well, thanks." Or with a close friend, you might say something like "Well, so," something like that. And then "How are you?" could also be answered with a similar expression. When someone asks you like "How are you?" the stress is in the word "are." How are you? And then you can answer by saying, fine, thanks. How are you? When you ask back, when you ask the person back with how are you, the stress is in the word you instead of the word are. So the first person say, how are you? The stress is in are. But then when you respond, the response should be, how are you? So that's a different place of stressing. Now, pre-closing. I like talking about pre-closing. Also, I like to emphasize this when I teach my students in speaking class. Because in Indonesia, in our Indonesian culture, we don't usually use pre-closing like the English way. You know, for example, so pre-closing is signals to end a conversation, to avoid saying goodbye and leaving each other abruptly. So instead of just ending the conversation by saying, okay, bye, instead of just saying goodbye abruptly, usually in a normal English speaking culture, people would give signals before they say goodbye, giving signals by using some expressions which are called pre-closing. Okay, so pre-closing, yeah, in a formal situation, you, for example, if you are talking to the uh, in a formal situation, usually it is initiated by the superior. So those who give signals to end a conversation, usually the superior. Superior in age, maybe someone older, or superior in the social status. Maybe when when you are talking to your lecturer, your professor, maybe, then usually it is the lecturer who ends or who signals the end of the conversation. So it's like an ethics, yeah, it's like the ethics. On the phone, on the telephone call, usually it is the caller who is supposed to signal the end of the conversation. But in an informal situation, when you are with friends, when you are with family, either speaker can pre-close, yeah, can give signals to end the conversation. And I give a note there that it is considered rude to ignore pre-closings, especially with someone of higher status or with people you do not know very well. So, uh, so you have to acknowledge the pre-closing. You have to not to just continue talking all the time because the other person has signaled you that she wants to end the conversation. So what to say in pre-closing? There are three components, yeah, usually, but most use the two, first and second, yeah. First is thanking or appreciating a person on something, and then second is making an excuse or apology, yeah. And then number three is optional. You can use it or not. You can wish to see them, or you can wish to see them again, yeah. So examples is like, uh, thank you for dinner. Thank you for dinner. It was wonderful. So when you are invited to someone's house for dinner, or maybe to a restaurant for dinner by someone, then before you leave, before you say goodbye, you need to pre-close by thanking for the dinner or the invitation. So you can say something like, thank you for the dinner. It was wonderful. Don't forget to appreciate the dinner. It was wonderful, or it was beautiful, it was nice. Yeah. And then you make an excuse or apology by saying, oh, but we really have to go because Dave has to catch the early morning flight tomorrow. Uh, or in another case, when you meet someone, you say something like, "It was nice meeting you," or "It was nice talking to you, but I really have to go." And then you may wish like, "I hope to see you again sometime." The word "sometime" is important because that is to indicate that this is just a general wish, that you are not planning a specific date or time for another meeting. And then you can say, "I hope to see you again soon." So by saying soon means you really want or expect that in a short future time you want to meet again each other. And then closing. Closing is an expression to end a conversation. So similar to greetings, they don't carry literal meanings. Like saying goodbye, yeah, at the end of the day, although they meet every day. Although you meet the other person every day, at the end of the day you say goodbye. Also wishing each other a nice weekend at the end of the week. So on Friday, on the last day of the weekdays, usually English speaking people would say to each other like, "Oh, have a nice weekend," something like that. And then on Monday, usually when people greet to each other, they ask something like, "How was your weekend?" Something like that. And then, so that's it. Before I continue with the phrases, phrases is like the dictionary that you can have for your guide in conversation. Yeah. Before I look at it one by one, I think I need to open a question and answer session, Ibu Nurlina. So it's
Yeah,
not just
okay.
one
So
way.
yeah. So please,
Well,
if anyone
yeah,
has a questions, you can ask Bu Isi directly. So we are a conversations meeting, so everyone are encouraged to speak. The
yeah,
easiest way to do is that you ask questions. If you don't understand what Bu Isi has been explaining to us,
yeah. Or maybe you need further explanation or illustration,
yeah.
or maybe you need. Maybe you want to give comments, or maybe you want to share your experience of having a conversation with an English-speaking
Okay, Bu
people.
Isi.
Yeah,
While waiting, I would like to share my experience. I think so here in Germany, where well, in every language, I think how are you? Asking you how are you is the initial sentence when we meet someone at the very beginning, no? And then
yeah,
usually in English we say it, how are you, but in German we say it wie geht es dir? So people sometimes misunderstand when they are being asked how are you, and then they answer you, oh, well, I'm good, I'm good, instead of instead of saying, oh, I'm fine, but they say I'm good. It is translations of in Germans, yeah,
oh, yeah, yeah,
mir
yeah,
geht's gut, ne? Mir geht's gut. That's, but it's well, actually learning the foreign language mean that we learned the cultures of the language being spoken. So if we cannot say it directly, we cannot translate it directly from a word. Good is good in English, good, but we should say I'm fine because it is what the English people do. So that's my experience.
yeah. Okay. Well, actually, yeah, Bu Pur, I think your experience in Germany has enriched your cultural understanding among people of different countries. I have some encounters with some German, but not in Germany, but in Indonesia and in UK. Yeah, but actually in English, the expression is not just "I'm fine." You can say "I'm fine," I'm very well. You can also say I'm
Mhm.
good. I'm good.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you do not say something like I have a headache or I have stomach ache. You don't mention about your real health condition actually, because when someone asks you how are you, they
Mhm.
don't actually. Sometimes it is just basa-basi. They don't actually mean to ask your health. Although how are you means apa kabarmu, bagaimana keadaanmu. Although literally, although if we translate it, it may be like that, but actually, how are you is like a hello things. It is functioned like a hello, just to fill the communication gap. So to avoid communication gap, to acknowledge someone's existence, not really genuinely asking you your real condition. So yeah, so we
So,
don't need to say I'm healthy, or I'm healthy, or I'm sick, or I have stomach ache,
but
or yeah, not to be
yeah,
specific about the health. Yeah.
yeah, okay. But when I was in Australia, I've never heard that people say, "Okay, I'm good," but as an answer for "How are you?" they might say, "Well, I'm very well indeed," and then, but I've never heard someone say, "Well, I'm good." I'm good mean that you are good, you are not
I
bad.
heard. Yeah, yeah, but I have all many times, when I was in Australia, like people say a lot of things, not just good. Sometimes they also say things like they use like a very specific Australian expression also. So not bad, or they use rhyme slang and things like that, in
Yeah,
Australia.
slang,
So
yes, yes,
yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
So the purpose of asking how are you is just like, well, basa-basi,
Like in
nah?
Indonesian, we have the basa-basi. Actually, it is like
Yeah.
a hello thing, not really asking you the health condition. Actually, yeah,
Yeah, but it's just, I think that's very, well, it's wasting times. If you say, how are you? I mean it when I ask somebody, how are you? I mean it, that, how are you? How's
but
things going
actually, when
on?
but bu, but there are situations, Ibu Nurulina, like among
Uh,
family members, when you haven't seen each other with family for a very long time. So the
mm,
question like "How are you?" could be a genuine asking for help. Actually,
mm,
yeah, it depends. But in most of the time, when it's just like in everyday encounters with people, with friends, usually the "How are you?" is actually just a basa-basi. But when you haven't meet for a long time with your
okay.
family, usually
Yeah.
when you ask "How are you?", usually then it really means asking your health or your condition.
How things
Actually,
with you,
yeah.
no? Yeah. Okay, is
Yeah,
there
so
any
so there is what so most of the time the "How are you?" is not genuine "How are you?". It's just uh the so-called basa-basi in our term. Yeah, but but yes, uh not very often, but yes, among family members who haven't met for a long time, or good friends who haven't met for a long time, they would usually, when
Mm,
they say like "How are you?", they really mean it. They really mean to ask
mhm.
how you are. Yeah.
Okay, is there any
Yes, please.
questions
If
or
you have
comments or
questions,
any
please.
kinds? But you
Yeah.
are encouraged to speak. I mean, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraging myself to speak as
Yeah.
well. So that's why the purpose of this meeting, so everyone has a chance to speak any kinds, any, well, if it is not related to the material that Bu Isi has been explaining to us, but you can talk any other topic, or you have questions, you have any kind, any comment, please
Yes,
do.
Hello, everybody.
please. If you want to give
Hello.
comments, yes, Ibu
Uh,
Kartika.
yeah,
Oh,
so thank you
is it?
for explanation. I have a question. So maybe this is regarding to grammar. So for the closing, like people usually say it has been a pleasure to meet you. Why do they say it has been a pleasure to meet you? Why don't they say like it was a pleasure to meet you? I mean, which one is correct?
Yeah. You can choose either one. Like you can use it's been a pleasure meeting you. It's been a pleasure. You use the present perfect, or you can say it's a pleasure meeting you. So either one is okay, Ibu. Either one is okay. You can use the simple present. You can also use present perfect. It's been a pleasure or it is a pleasure. It's okay. Both are correct.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Any other questions or any other comment?
Comments or question, please?
Yesterday, I hosted a conversation class as well with Izzy, and well, indeed, it was really hard to encourage people to speak. I mean,
okay, there is a question here in the chat session, Ibu.
Okay.
Ibu Syarifah Rizalia. Ya, sebagai seorang semi-active speaker, apa dibolehkan menjawab kalimat more formal dengan less formal? Kalau iya, bagaimana cara menyampaikannya dengan baik tanpa menyinggung perasaan teman bercakap? Well, Ibu, don't worry very much about this. Kalau saya kewajibannya sebagai sebagai instruktur bahasa Inggris, saya akan memberikan pengetahuan tentang mana bentuk yang formal, mana bentuk yang tidak formal, dan bagaimana penggunaannya. But you don't need to worry. Pokoknya kalau bicara dengan orang bule, nggak perlu khawatir. You don't need to worry too much about making mistakes. Nggak usah terlalu khawatir berbuat kesalahan. Karena kalau khawatir salah, nanti terus jadinya takut bicara. Because why I said you don't need to be afraid of making mistakes, because usually English speaking people are very understanding. Mereka itu sangat toleran sekali. They are tolerant of foreigners, they are tolerant of non-English speakers. Mereka sangat toleran dengan penutur yang bukan penutur jati bahasa Inggris, ya, sehingga and they appreciate any intent of learning their language. Dan mereka memang orangnya sangat apresiatif, ya, kalau ada orang yang mau belajar bahasa mereka dan bisa sedikit bahasa mereka. So they will not focus on your incorrect use of grammar, incorrect use of register, whether formal or informal, incorrect use of expressions or words. They will not focus on that. They will focus on on trying to understand you and to appreciate you. Biasanya orang bule itu sangat apresiatif, ya. Mereka akan berusaha memahami, dan mereka akan sangat sangat pengertian dan toleran kalau ada salah register yang harusnya formal tidak formal. So they would tolerate you because you are non-English speakers. Don't worry. Jadi nggak apa-apa kalau membuat kesalahan. Aduh, saya karena kemampuan saya yang agak minimal bahasa Inggrisnya, saya jadi nggak bisa membedakan formal dan tidak formal. Jadi saya kecenderungannya jadi kurang begitu formal, ya. Mungkin kurang bisa bicara yang dengan bahasa yang eloquent gitu. Nah itu nggak apa-apa, karena orang bule sangat sangat memahami sekali kalau ada kekurangan ketika orang non-Inggris itu berbicara bahasa Inggris. Mereka sangat apresiatif. Yang agak kita prihatin, justru yang agak berbeda itu kita, ya, masyarakat kita kan senangnya mengetawakan gitu loh. Ketika ada orang bule belajar bahasa Indonesia, kita senang, kita tertawa, tapi begitu dia membuat kesalahan, kita ketawa gitu. Ketawa kita padahal bukan ketawa mengejek, tapi bagi orang bule dia merasa ditertawakan gitu. Jadi, nah itu harusnya kita budaya kita kan ketawa itu maknanya berjuta-juta makna, ya, artinya berbagai makna. Tapi bagi orang bule, ketawa di situasi seperti itu tuh dianggap seperti seperti mengejek gitu, ya. Jadi
diingat-ingat saja kalau pas ketemu momen seperti itu jangan ketawa gitu. Ya.
So
Bu Syarif
Pak Syarif
Rizalia,
Rizalia,
did I answer your question? Apa saya sudah menjawab pertanyaan Bu Syarif? Ibu,
So don't worry,
you want to say
everyone.
something? Maybe you can unmute. You can unmute.
Okay. Yeah. So don't worry. Making mistake is part of a learning process. So don't worry. The most important thing that you use to speak fluently, and we think about the grammar or anything kind later
Oh, there is
on.
another question, Ibu Nur.
Yeah.
There is a question from Ibu Mazida, yeah. Why question like how do you do? And answer like how do you do? Okay. Why the question how do you do is answered with how do you do? And then is there any Indonesian examples for these sentences? Well, how do you do is a very specific sentence, yeah, because it is not the same as how are you. Ya, how are you itu kan sebenarnya kayak tanya apa kabar, but it is only for basa-basi. But how do you do is also like apa kabar, but you know the use is like hello. How do you do bisa dijawab dengan how do you do. How do you do bisa dijawab dengan nice to meet you. How do you do bisa dijawab pleased to meet you. How do you do bisa dijawab it's a pleasure meeting you. Dan yang ditanyakan ini kenapa how do you do dijawab dengan how do you do? Because that is not a question. Karena how do you do itu walaupun bentuknya seperti question, pakai how, lalu pakai auxiliary do, lalu ada question mark-nya gitu ya. Tapi sebenarnya itu bukan question. Jadi itu seperti apa kabar tapi untuk khusus specific for someone do not know each other. Jadi for people who do not know each other. Jadi how do you do itu biasanya ditanyakan untuk orang yang baru pertama untuk dua orang yang baru pertama ketemu ya. Artinya kalau how are you kan untuk orang yang sudah kenal we use how are you. Tapi kalau how do you do itu memang spesifik untuk kalau kita baru pertama kali ketemu. Meaningnya mirip how are you, tapi itu sebenarnya penggunaannya kayak hello saja ya. Jadi makanya dijawabnya juga how do you do seperti hello dijawab hello gitu ya. Jadi itu bukan kalau itu tidak bisa diterjemahkan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi karena kalau diterjemahkan menjadi apa kabar, lalu dijawab apa kabar gitu. Kalau dijawab jadi itu seperti hello aja. Jadi sama aja kalau halo dijawab halo gitu. Jadi we cannot translate it literally. Itu memang termasuk yang tidak bisa ditranslate secara literal, secara word for word. Tapi maknanya itu, maknanya penggunaannya adalah seperti hello. Tapi itu diungkapkan biasanya waktu kita pertama kali bertemu dengan orang ya. Kalau yang udah kenal, udah ketemu biasanya kita pakai how are you ya. Instead of how do you do.
So another
Any
question? There might be another question. So no, just
excuse me. May I give some opinion idea?
Please, Bu Fitri.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thanks, Bu Isi, for learning session today. Nice to see you again, and Bu Nur, how are you?
Nice to see you, Bu Fitri.
I'm just fine.
The participants here, nice to see you. Actually, I just want to give or suggest some ideas. How about if in this class session, you prepare some what we call a little or short video, real video about a conversation, like how friends meet each others, and just a little video or a short video to show the real situation and condition, so we can imagine how can we express our conversations, our reactions in the real situations like that. Just it's
Okay.
just my opinion to make this session more interesting. I think.
Okay.
Thank you, Bu Isi.
Okay, thank you very much for a very fruitful suggestion, Ibu Krisnu. I think next time I will try to get some video for for illustration of the lesson. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Ibu
Thank
Ibu Fitri.
You're welcome.
Any other comments
Halo
or
Ibu.
questions?
Maybe
Halo
Pak
Bu Isi.
Edi. Pak Edi, do you have,
Yes.
hello? Do you have any say,
Uh,
Pak Edi?
Thank you very much Ibu Isi. Just comment some situation in this Google Meet. Actually,
Okay.
the big problem is how to get started in speaking or converse.
Right.
This is I
Yeah.
think the big problem for us. So I think the first time
Yeah.
I suggest in this next sessions how to motivate our members
Okay.
always to speak English. Because
Right.
the big problem is we feel very anxious in speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us cannot speak English. Actually, he or she is not don't understand about English, but they feel very anxious. How to solve this
Right.
problem? Yes, thank you, Bu Isi.
Okay, Pak Edi, I agree with you that most of the problems of Indonesian people in their way of trying to speak English, they usually are anxious. They usually are not confident to speak up. So in my opinion, the one way to eradicate anxiety is to be to forgive yourself, to forgive yourself, like uh, like what Ibu Bu Mazida ya, Bu Mazida, oh not Bu Mazida, Bu siapa tadi yang tanya ya, the first person asking question just now. Yeah, so you need to believe that as a stranger, as a non-English speaker, you are forgiven actually if you make mistakes. So my suggestion is don't be afraid of making mistakes. So in that way you will be more confident. Yeah, because the English speaking people, they would understand they would try to understand when you make mistakes. Yeah. And they appreciate your try of speaking English. Yeah. So because if you don't try, if you only learn grammar, then you will never be able to speak. I think the best way is for you to just speak. Although maybe you make some mistakes in grammar, maybe you make some mistakes in the choice of words. It's okay. Your English speaking counterparts will try to understand you. I'm positive of that. Yeah.
Pak Bu Isi, well, understanding people, I mean, when people talk to us and we can understand what they say, but understanding is a passive state of in learning process, no? But speaking is an active form of learning process. But I think there are a certain conditions when people just passively understand someone, but they are not in the state of actively using the language itself. So that's my opinion. I don't know. You are lecturers, English lecturers.
I think that I think that's the case with most Indonesian people, Indonesian learners of English. So I remember in the year 19 something, before the year 2000, for a few years I taught English conversation to
residents, yeah, the doctors doing specialists, yeah. I taught them English, and I also taught some specialists, yeah, doctors in Semarang here, and they understand English textbooks. They understand English textbooks perfectly, but they don't write. They are not able to write good English, and they can understand English. They can understand when people speak English, but they cannot produce. They cannot speak. They cannot express themselves in speech. So indeed, the productive language needs to be practiced. Productive skills like speaking and writing should be practiced. It's like cycling, like swimming. If you don't swim, you cannot swim. If you only know the theory of swimming, how to swim, you will not be able to swim. If you only learn how to how to cycle, but you never try a bike, you'll never be able to to cycle. So you see, you need to practice. Practice make perfect. So you need to practice. So maybe in your first weeks of practicing, you make a lot of mistakes, but maybe gradually you will make like self-correction, and then gradually you will be automatically correct. So that's my idea. I always say my students, self-correction is very important. When you first practice, maybe you are not conscious of your mistakes, but gradually you will then realize that I made mistakes, and then you self-correct. Yeah.
What I can do for you?
Yes, indeed. So, well, sometimes it helps when you just, for example, read a sentence loudly, just to initiate you to speak. I think so. That was in my case. When I was learning English a few years ago, I badly wanted to speak. But what I did is I just read a sentence, and then I read it loudly, as if that I was talking to somebody. So and it helped.
Maybe that would be a good practice. Yeah, maybe that would be a good tip. Yeah, for practice.
Yes,
but I think also, Ibu Nur, I think exposure is really important. In Indonesia, we cannot find like the real or authentic exposure when you really talk with the real English speaking people. But you can create you can create, not the real or authentic exposure, but you can create your specific or unique exposure of English by using friends or neighbors who can speak better English than you. So then, you then have conversation. So by having exposure, by exposing yourself to conversation, you will be able to speak gradually. I think you will be more confident.
Yeah, once I remember I met Bule on the street, and I wanted to talk to him, but he was talking to somebody. So I badly wanted to speak to somebody, the native speaker, but I didn't know that he was a native speaker, but I wanted to talk to someone from outside Indonesia, let's say. Well,
Yes. Hello, Wei-Sik.
Yes, Pak Edi.
Yeah. I hope you to greet to somebody here, because it's just silence.
Okay.
I think they wide your greetings. Please greet to the art.
Okay, I will say hi to everyone, like Pak Raffi, I think I know Pak Raffi Eka Megiantomo. Hello, Pak Raffi. I think I met him once or twice. You actually came to my home, right, Pak Raffi? Mas Raffi actually.
There is Pak Adam, dari Ibu Afriza.
Yeah, we also have Ibu Mazida. Ibu Mazida asked question just now.
Ibu Krisnu Fitriati, who gave a suggestion that we use video for next time. And then Pak Bodi, how are you, Pak Bodi? Halo Pak Bodi.
Sleeping maybe.
Hello Bu Isi.
Hello
Ibu
Bu Isi, I'm sorry I'm late.
Okay, no problem, Bu Afriza. I'm glad you're joining us. You're joining here.
Thank you. I'm only hiding now.
Hello. We also have Ibu Kartika Siahaan here, Pak Adam, Ibu Kartika Siahaan, Ibu Humaira Era, and then Ibu Diana.
Ini Bu Isi, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Pak Adam, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine, Bu. How are you too?
I'm great. And you?
How do you do? How do you do, Bu?
It's hard for me to answer that question because you are not a new friend to me.
Sorry, because I'm late. I missed the material today.
Bu Isi,
Yes, Bu Afriza.
how about our topic? No, I don't know.
Okay, today's topic is differentiating. Today's topic is general ideas of conversation, like how to differentiate between formal and informal speech,
Oh yeah.
and then we talk about the components of a conversation, and I give emphasis on pre-closing because pre-closing is one component that we don't usually use in our culture, but it's very important in English speaking. Pre-closing. We also have here Pak Agus Kurnia, and then Ibu Darunda ada, Ibu Ellen, Ibu Haja.
You want to ask maybe Bu Nurlita?
Hadijah, Bapak Syarif, Pak Satrial, Pak Hasbi. I'm glad that we have a lot of people today. Okay, Ibu Hanifah, Ibu Umi Hanifah, do you have anything? I think the signal is not very good. Yeah, we cannot really hear.
Bu Isi?
Yes, Pak Edi.
Let me, hello Bu Isi?
Yes.
Bu Isi?
Pak Adam, yes.
I have a question, but
What is it, Pak Adam?
yes, but
Okay.
it's not as it's not relevant with the topic to the today topics.
Okay.
Actually, when I write a paper, then I use Grammarly to check about my writing, and there are a lot of suggestion that Grammarly Grammarly said that my sentence is not in passive. It's not an active. Grammarly suggests I must use active sentence for writing.
Okay.
Is there any explanation about that? Why we must use sentence?
Well, yeah, there are some habits of Indonesian, some context where Indonesian love to use passive. Ada konteks-konteks yang di bahasa Inggris itu penggunaannya sebenarnya aktif, tapi di bahasa Indonesia orang Indonesia senang sekali menggunakan, udah kebiasaan menggunakan pasif. Misalnya, for example, untuk yang sehari-hari saja, misalnya ada orang mengatakan, aduh, bolpen saya di mana ya? Misalnya, bolpen saya, oh, diambil Johnny. Itu kan pasif. Aduh, payung saya mana tadi? Oh, dipinjam si A, gitu ya.
Betul.
Ya enggak? Bahasa Indonesia seperti itu. Terus, aduh, rotinya kok habis? Oh, dimakan si Anu. Something like that. In Indonesian, use passive a lot of times in such context. But in English, we use, in those contexts, we should use active. Jadi, kalau ditanya misalnya, where are the biscuits? Mana biskuitnya? Itu orang bule akan mengatakannya, somebody has eaten them. Misalnya, somebody itu misalnya siapa? Ani misalnya. Ani has eaten them. Atau Ani sudah memakannya. Kalau orang bule mengatakannya begitu, Pak, dalam bentuk aktif. Jadi tidak, they have been eaten by Ani. Nggak gitu. Jadi memang naturally orang bule dalam konteks-konteks seperti itu menggunakannya aktif. Banyak konteks-konteks yang di bahasa Inggris itu secara natural English menggunakannya aktif, tapi kalau di bahasa Indonesia secara natural kita menggunakannya pasif. So I remember, makanya kalau menulis buku pelajaran bahasa Inggris itu perlu ada editor, orang yang mengerti culture bahasa Inggris gitu ya. Karena saya pernah menemui buku LKS bahasa Inggris, ada contoh percakapan karena pelajarannya tentang pasif. Ada contoh percakapan tentang penggunaan pasif, tapi pasif dari present continuous tense ya. Jadi ada tetangga datang mau pinjem tangga ke si tuan rumah. May I borrow your ladder? Kata di percakapan itu. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. It is still being used by my son, siapa gitu. Jadi di kalimatnya itu it is still being used by, itu kalimat yang secara grammar betul. Secara grammar itu grammar yang ada dalam bahasa Inggris. Namanya present continuous tense dan itu pasif. Secara grammar kalimat kayak gitu, bentuk seperti itu ada. Tapi secara penggunaan they don't exist ya. Kalimat-kalimat kayak gitu tuh nggak exist, nggak dipakai. Artinya dalam konteks seperti itu orang bule tidak pernah memakai bentuk pasifnya, tidak pernah lalu pasif present continuous gitu lalu memakai bentuk pasifnya. It is still being used by my son, lalu menyebut my son lagi. Karena orang bule nggak pernah menyebut misalnya my son. Kalau ngomong dengan tetangga, asumsinya tetangga udah tahu nama anaknya, biasanya pakai nama aja. Jadi biasanya orang bule mengatakan, oh, John is still using it, atau oh, Mike is still using it. Mike is still using it. Mike masih sedang memakainya. Jadi bukan, oh ini sedang dipakai sama si Mike. Kalau kita kan bahasa Indonesia memang pakai pasif mungkin, tangganya sedang dipakai si Mike, gitu ya. Tangganya sedang dipakai si Joko, gitu. Nah, tapi kalau orang bule tidak begitu mengatakannya, Joko sedang memakainya. Jadi itu yang lebih natural English, gitu. Jadi makanya saya kalau ketika menjadi reviewer buku di Puskur Book nasional, saya banyak mencoreti yang gitu-gitu ya, banyak mencoreti yang percakapan Inggris tapi tidak natural English. Saya pikir penulis buku ketika menulis buku harus mempunyai editornya kalau nggak ketemu native speaker yang memang menguasai bahasa, grammar dan sebagainya, ya kalau tidak native speaker ya paling nggak orang yang mengerti tentang culture bahasa Inggris. Gitu Pak Adam.
Thank you, Bu. Aduh.
You're welcome. Makanya dulu ada guyon-guyon gini. Kalau di Indonesia itu kan kalau ada display barang pecah belah, biasanya ada bunyinya kalau pecah harap dibayar. Kalau pecah harap dibayar. Artinya kalau barang ini pecah harap dibayar. Jadi fokusnya adalah objeknya. Kalau di bahasa Inggris kan literal, pasif berarti if it is broken, it is paid by you. Kan seolah gitu, tapi itu tidak natural English. Jadi kalau di bahasa Inggris ya sign-nya mesti bunyinya you break it, you pay for it. Jadi pakainya pasif aktifnya ya. Kamu mecahin, kamu bayar gitu. Jadi Anda pecahin ya Anda bayar gitu. Jadi emang beda kebiasaannya, beda apa ya? Apa yang natural, apa yang lazim atau apa yang yang lazim ya. Apa yang natural atau yang lazim di suatu bahasa A bisa jadi kebalikannya di bahasa B gitu. Bisa jadi berbeda di bahasa satu. Seperti itu Pak Adam. Ya.
Baik Bu, terima kasih Bu.
Walaupun Pak Adam bukan berarti dalam tulisan tidak boleh menggunakan pasif ya, karena di dalam tulisan-tulisan ilmiah, dalam karya tulis ilmiah itu kan juga justru ada hal-hal yang harus dipasifkan supaya ada apa ya, untuk mengimpersonalize tulisannya ada hal-hal yang dipasifkan, misalnya instead of saying misalnya somebody has found out, tapi biasanya it is found out that gitu ya, it is stated that, misalnya semacam itu ya. It is, untuk hal-hal yang bersifat umum justru harus pasif ya. Hal-hal yang bersifat umum yang aktornya, subjeknya siapa itu tidak penting, karena itu dikatakan oleh umum gitu. Misalnya it is believed that, artinya sudah menjadi kepercayaan umum. Yang mempercayai itu kan orang banyak. Jadi instead of saying people believe that, biasanya it is believed that. Jadi pakai pasif, it is believed that. Jadi bukan berarti pasif itu tidak boleh ya Pak dalam bahasa Inggris. Artinya ada hal-hal yang memang malah harus dengan pasif. Untuk hal-hal yang bersifat apa ya, yang bersifat subjeknya itu tidak begitu penting untuk ditonjolkan gitu.
Baik Bu, terima kasih Bu. Thank you. Okay, next question. Other.
Thank you for your questions, Pak Adam.
Yes, you're welcome, Bu Nurlina. Oh yeah, by the way, why when in English somebody said thank you and we replied with you are welcome ya?
You're welcome. Ya, karena tadi Pak ada formula-formula dalam exchanges, conversation itu, formula-formula artinya udah spesifik, expression yang sudah spesifik yang tidak bisa diterjemahkan secara literal. Seperti tadi Pak Adam kan tadi agak telat ya hadirnya. So, misalnya good morning. Good morning kan kalau diterjemahkan literally kan morning yang good gitu ya. Artinya pagi yang bagus, pagi yang indah gitu. Walaupun tapi kan itu ucapan yang sudah formulaic gitu ya, yang sudah bersifat spesifik. Jadi nggak bisa dirubah menjadi bad morning gitu. Kalau misalnya hari lagi mendung lalu kita mengucapkannya bad morning gitu, nggak juga gitu. Artinya good morning itu berlaku untuk morning yang bad juga gitu. Artinya itu tuh bukan sesuatu yang diterjemahkan secara literal ya, tetapi sesuatu formula expression atau gambit yang memang sudah itu dipakai untuk itu kebiasaannya gitu. Jadi specific expression for specific use. Jadi itu disebut gambit ya dalam bahasa Inggris. Artinya kalau kita mempelajari bahasa, kita mempelajarinya expressions, bukan mempelajarinya word for word gitu. Gitu Pak Adam. Nah, seperti ini ya, di yang phrases Bu Nur, di materi yang bagian phrases, itu kan di greeting, di tentang greetings itu kan yang ada how are you gitu. Tapi kan kalau informal itu ada how are you doing? How are you doing? Jadi bukan how are you, tapi how are you doing? Atau how have you been doing? How have you been doing? Itu sama saja artinya dengan how are you. Tapi itu kalau orang yang belajarnya masih mentranslate one by one word, itu nanti jadi bingung ya. How have you been doing maksudnya apa? How are you doing? Terus jadinya terjemahannya apa gitu. Nah itu nggak usah diterjemahin. Itu bentuk informal dari how are you gitu ya. How are you, bentuk informalnya bisa what's new, terus bisa how are you doing, ya, how have you been doing, semacam itu. Jadi, makanya yang kolom phrases ini yang ada di screen-nya di screen Google Meet kita kali ini, itu anggap saja sebagai kamus ungkapan gitu ya. And I took this from a book entitled Speaking Naturally. Buku ini diambil dari buku Speaking Naturally, bukunya bagus banget. Aduh, kayaknya saya cocok jadi seller buku nih. Saya endorse buku ini. Buku ini tuh bagus sekali, judulnya Speaking Naturally, bukunya sudah lama ya, jadi sudah bisa diperoleh e-booknya gratis di internet. Buku ini bagus sekali karena ini bagus sekali untuk mata kuliah Speaking One ya, untuk mata kuliah mahasiswa bahasa Inggris di semester 1 gitu. Karena dia memberikan, ini Inggris Amerika, dia memberikan per unit itu berdasarkan communicative function, misalnya function untuk thanking, function untuk introduction, function untuk thanking, function untuk apologizing, itu masing-masing satu unit, dan diberi contoh-contoh dialognya, dan contoh-contoh dialognya itu ada yang formal, ada yang situasinya informal. Nah, kemudian ada unit, ada unitnya yang disebut phrases. Phrases ini seperti yang ada di screen, phrases ini unit yang memberikan kayak kamus gitu ya, jadi kamus ungkapan yang dipakai untuk fungsi topik tersebut gitu, untuk fungsi komunikasi tersebut. Jadi ini bagus banget untuk mahasiswa semester 1 bahasa Inggris, dan untuk orang-orang non bahasa Inggris yang lagi belajar bahasa Inggris, buku ini highly recommended. Saya punya e-booknya di WA ada, nanti bisa saya kirim. Kalau pada ingin dikirimi, silahkan nanti menulis di di teks ini, atau nanti bisa saya share di WA grup DMI. Yang belum masuk di grupnya DMI berarti mungkin bisa. So the title of the book is I'll type it. Speaking Naturally. Speaking Naturally by Bruce Tillett and friends. I always say to my students, students of speaking class, that they can use these phrases, these units of phrases, their dictionary. Jadi supaya tadi menjawab pertanyaan Pak Adam, supaya nanti tidak lagi bertanya kok jawabannya how do you do kok di yang bertanya bukan hanya Pak Adam ya, how do you do kok dijawab how do you do gitu. Terus terjemahannya apa dong how do you do itu gitu. Nah, kalau belajarnya phrases, belajarnya bukan words, dan belajar phrases yang sudah baku, sudah formulaik, sudah merupakan suatu rumusan seperti yang ada di phrases, nanti akan paham bahwa oh ya, kita mempelajarinya langsung phrasesnya aja deh, karena itu yang udah dipakai di sononya gitu, udah naturally dipakai di English speaking setting gitu, English speaking communities gitu.
Okay, thank you for your
Jadi
explanations.
kalau kita make up sentences sendiri word by word, malah nanti jadi ini ya, untuk expression yang sudah formulate gini, kalau kita mengubahnya menjadi sentence yang yang kita menerjemahkan sendiri word for word, malah nanti jadi aneh gitu. Jadi untuk expressions yang ini memang ada baiknya kayak dihafal gitu ya, dijadikan active expression atau active vocabulary di kepala kita. Dan bagusnya yang bagian phrases ini, selain diberikan ada bagian initiatornya, ada bagian responsnya. Jadi kalau misalnya ungkapan ini ketika thanking, terus responsnya apa? Ketika greeting begini, responsnya seperti apa saja gitu. Nah itu sudah langsung dalam bentuk phrases gitu. Jadi enak banget. Jadi itu udah kayak ungkapan yang sudah jadi, udah kita nggak usah merangkai ya. Udah ungkapan yang udah jadi, dan itu bisa dijadikan kamus ungkapan kita. Gitu.
But it's difficult to menghafal loh ya.
To memorize.
Yes, that's difficult to memorize, but it will be better if
Yeah,
we practicing. We
yeah.
will.
I think yeah. I agree. I agree. Memorizing without practicing would be hard. Tapi
Yes.
kalau mempraktekkan begitu merasa butuh, oh saya butuh ungkapan ini apa ya, terus melihat dan mempraktekannya, baru bisa nempel di kepala Pak. Kalau cuma membaca, menghafalkan, and never practice, saya rasa it's hard ya. You will not gain much if you only memorize. If you only memorizing it by reading it, but you have to practice it. You have to practice it, not just memorizing.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Or maybe that book can be our main book for practicing
Yeah,
our conversation. Maybe.
that's what that's what I intend to do actually, Pak Adam. For this everyday conversation class or everyday conversation training, I will use this book. I summarize, and then I like today I actually summarize the essential of Unit 1. But then there is a request from some of the members of DNI for me to give a lesson on giving presentation, giving seminar presentation. So there will be one session that I will give you on how to be a chairperson in a seminar, and then how to give presentation in seminar. What I mean to say, how is the language, yeah? What are the language expressions that the linguistic expressions use? What are the expressions used when you are moderating or chairing a seminar? Or what are the expressions used when you are giving presentation in seminar? So I will give that in one of the sessions, in one of our sessions.
Okay, bro. I agree.
But mainly this course is for everyday conversation, but there will be one session on seminar presentation by request.
Okay. And that book, it talks for formal and informal conversation, or just for
Yeah, this
informal.
book, speaking naturally, yeah, gives you lots of examples of dialogues, yeah, that contain formal setting and formal dialogues, and also informal dialogues with formal setting and then informal setting. And what I like most about this book, so it is really in line with the title, because the language there is really the everyday language, like the natural language used in America, yeah, in English speaking countries, yeah, specifically in America, because this one is American English. And also another good thing about this book is this book gives also, or provides also, the cultural understanding, cultural notes. It gives you cultural notes, so to give you lesson about culture related to that topic that you need. So it's really good. This book is really good. It gives you the sample dialogues. It gives you the practice. We do the practice when we have the face-to-face meeting in the classroom. Usually when I teach speaking, yeah, we usually use role play. So it has the model dialogues. It has the role play section or practice section. It has the phrases, and it also has the cultural discussion or cultural section, which is very good. I really love this book. I always use this book for the beginners, for the semester 1 students when they learn speaking 1, because it gives very strong basis, yeah, for understanding
and differentiating formal and informal speech.
Bu Isi?
Okay, yes, Ibu Nur?
Time is up, I think.
I think time is over, yeah. Because usually we have it for 1 hour, but
Yes,
today I
and we
think,
extend
yeah, I think next time
one.
we can extend, Ibu Nur. Maybe next
Yeah.
time we can extend to like 90 minutes, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay.
it would be between 60 and 90 minutes. I think
Mm-hmm.
because if there are lots of questions and people want to know more, I think we can allocate more time for, you know, discussion session or
Mm-hmm.
question and answer session. And everyone, I need to say to everyone here that in the first meetings that we had previously with only a few people of the DMI, Dosen Muslim Indonesia, we actually have real conversation practice. Jadi kita waktu itu langsung conversation ya. Jadi mungkin kita juga nanti ada sesi di mana kita bisa praktek conversation. Cuma kalau dengan participants yang banyak, kita harus memikirkan nanti ya Bu Nurlina bagaimana skemanya. We will think about it. So everyone will have the chance to speak up because this is supposed to be conversation lesson, not listening lesson.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Isi, for your explanations and your answer with regard to any questions here. So I think everyone it's already 9:27 in Germany, so it's time for us to say goodbye and see you next week, inshallah. And thank you for joining our conversation class. Hope next time you all have a chance to speak. Yeah. So
see you again. Yeah. Same day, same time. Yeah, Bu Nurlina.
Indeed. Yeah. Same time. And it's well, I will give you a link. We will talk about it in DMI whether we would like to use Google Meet or any kind of platform. Because I think I'm not a fan of Google Meet actually, but well, okay, then we'll talk about it.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, see you next week, inshallah.
Yeah, I hope next time we can have more time to invite people to really speak. So not just me speaking, but everyone should speak.
Okay, thank you Bu Isi and Bu Nurlina.
Welcome, Pak Anies.
Bu Nurlina.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, most welcome, everyone. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you here.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Dadah.
Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome, Ibu Darus. Ada.
Ibu Darus from Manado, we see.
Oh, Ibu Afriza's colleague.
That's right.
Kami tidak perlu meminta asuransi dulu karena kebetulan tenaga kesehatan kami ada. Kenapa? Kita memahami betul, Pak. Masyarakat